Hello everybody, we're back from our trip to Tulum and we're feeling inspired, renewed, rejuvenated. It was very joyous and peaceful, but at the same time we worked through a lot of shit both within ourselves and in our relationship. But it's all good, it's all beautiful at the same time. So what is this video about?
It's the blossoming and holding space for you to step into the highest version of yourself in your partnership or before you enter a new partnership is truly loving yourself and knowing your worth. I'll be honest, for so long I didn't know if I believed in true passionate, fiery, committed love on every single level, because in my past relationships I settled. I was like, oh, you know, we have this and this, but this is lacking, and I focused on what lacked in that relationship. But I stayed and I was comfortable. You know, it was comfortable. I wasn't really growing. I was constricting my truth, which was kind of suffocating that goddess energy, that essence, where I wasn't allowing myself to express myself fully sensually and sexually, because I was, my creativity was stifled by choosing those partners that I was with. And also being in a relationship where you're not speaking your truth, you're not sharing your needs, because you know you're thinking, oh, I'm going to be abandoned if I share what I really want. And if I speak that, you know, this relationship isn't serving me on all these levels. So, you know, when you're not speaking your truth, you're not honoring yourself. So how can you expect to blossom into the most beautiful version of yourself? And this blossoming occurs on every single level: physical, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So when you're trapping yourself and you're staying in a relationship for the wrong reasons, and you're holding on to resentment, anger, guilt, shame, whatever that is, you are blocking yourself from experiencing the most blissful, beautiful versions of who you truly are, the true essence of who you are.
And it's really subtle, and it's one thought at a time. That's another big part of it. So every time you don't express your truth, however that may look, good, bad, ugly, you're holding a little bit of what's underneath that thought. You know, it might be resentment, it might be sadness, it might be anger, something like that. So although it seems like benign, it adds up. The more times you don't say what you actually want to say or you're feeling, it builds up little by little by little by little. And then people get to breaking points, and couples get to breaking points, and that's when you see the things like it'll come out of nowhere, but it was building up in the unseen realms for months or years or something like that, and then it just hits a tipping point where there's this explosion of anger, resentment, judgment, something like that. So it's so important to just share your truth, your inner truth, in every situation, even with the small things. It doesn't even have to be these big, huge things.
And
even
it's,
the little
most
things.
of the time it is the little things, from like unloading the dishwasher to how often, you know, intimacy, how often you're snuggling, kissing, hugging, making love, and
the types of intimacy,
the types of
love being expressed, like the whole love language thing. Like maybe someone might not like getting gifts at all, but their partner's giving them gifts, and they're like, oh, I can't say anything because they're being nice, you know, like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has a different love language. Sometimes people think romance is, oh, he bought me flowers, oh, he bought me a spontaneous gift. But some people think romance is, I came home from work and the house was clean and dinner was served. And,
or we had an hour of just
cuddling and talking.
Or an hour, just us talking without distraction for an hour. Like that, for me, something like that's really intimate.
Yeah, it's true. And I think one of the biggest lessons that we've experienced as a couple is being able to see ourselves for who we truly are. So when you don't see yourself for who you truly are, for all the magnificence, all the beauty, because we all are divine, then you can't really see another for the full expression of who they are. And sometimes you think, oh, my partner's self-absorbed. He doesn't see me for who I am. But are you really seeing yourself for who you are? So often, we compare ourselves to others. We don't really see the beauty and the kindness and all that we embody. And I've gone through that myself because, in past relationships, like I said, my energy and my sensuality and sexuality was stifled. I was in relationships where my partners wanted to keep me small, keep me from growing out of fear of losing me. And eventually you can't contain a woman who is meant to blossom. And all of us women, we are meant to blossom into the highest versions of ourselves, which is that beautiful goddess essence. And we're not meant to be here and to suppress the sensuality and sexuality. And that is so huge for me. And I want to get that message out there for women is you are worthy of so much, and that sensuality and sexuality needs to be expressed. You need to feel that energy of being a sexy goddess, because you all are a sexy goddess in your own unique expression. Mm-hmm. And when you're with a partner that makes you feel safe to express that, you blossom. You blossom into the most beautiful version of yourself, and you begin to radiate. And so I ask you to really think about how your relationships are with your partner, where you're not feeling like you can act in that essence, because your partner wants to see you in that essence as well. Well, there was a story, I know I'm talking a lot right now, but there was a story I saw on social media a while ago, and there was this man, and he was looking with his friends online at all these gorgeous women, and they're like, oh, these women, they're such goddesses, they're so sexy. He was focusing on the sexy part, and his friends are like, do you see your wife? She's just as beautiful as these women. How can you not be seeing your wife anymore for who she truly is? And so the guy said to him, go buy your wife like a sexy dress and take her out to dinner and look at her as the goddess you once saw her as. And so the man did that, and they had a wonderful date. Like, they had a date night, and he allowed her to feel sexy and beautiful again. I just think that is so important in a relationship, for when our partner, the women, feel beautiful and nourished and taken care of. It creates the space to have more of that evolve within both beings.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because it all starts from within. And from the men's perspective, you're only able to do that when you do it within yourself. Mm-hmm. If you can fully see and honor the goddess, the divine feminine within yourself. Mm-hmm. Because if you're constantly suppressing the divine feminine within yourself, you're going to be doing that in the external world too. And that is, it looks like things like, there's no prescription for this, there's no 5-step process, but it's more of just,
so beautiful.
It's more of just like allowing, like, if you feel like dancing, dance. If you feel like singing, sing. If you feel like dressing a certain way, allow yourself to do that. It's allowing yourself to flow, basically. Instead of being like a drill sergeant with yourself, like allowing that masculine energy to dominate the feminine, it's allowing them to work together within you. Like, don't overwork with your work. Get your work done, but set the framework so you can flow with your work, and then you rest and things like that. Those are ways of honoring the divine feminine within you. And then once you come to a good place with that, a balanced place with your own inner masculine and feminine, then you can hold the space for other people to do it, especially your partner. And even our conversation just now was a mirror of that. I was just feeling into that because I gave you the space to let yourself express what you needed to express. And even though I felt like one or two places where I wanted to jump in, I allowed your expression to blossom fully with the conversation. And then once you ended it, then I'm like, okay, now I can come in.
It's beautiful too, and I want to say that because there's so many men that aren't balanced in their feminine and masculine, and Stephen is extremely balanced in his feminine and masculine, and that's one aspect that I love so much about him is his feminine side. It's like I see him as a queen, a king, a goddess, a god, all of it, and I love how sensual he is and how he expresses himself and how he shares his emotions with me, but I've held the space for him to feel safe to do that. And my past relationships, and even like I'll talk about even my family, because we take so many patterns from what we watch, right? You know, we pick up and we absorb how our parents' relationships were, what they chose in their partners, what you heard them talk about. And a lot of times, if a man has a feminine aspect that is like really predominant, women think that they're gay. Like women,
or that it's weak.
Or that it's weak, or they're not strong, and I need you to be a masculine man that takes care of me, that makes me feel safe.
And what does it say about the women?
Right. Yeah. What does it say about the woman who does that?
It means they don't feel safe in their own masculine.
Right. So that you're dependent and you're like, oh, you know, I want a man that provides for me. I want a man that makes me feel safe, has everything taken care of. Why are you going to give your power away to that? Why can't you be with a man that does both things, right? So often if a man feels so pressured to like actually to have to be in that masculine energy all the time, and they're stifled in their ability to be sensual and experience that creative Shakti energy that really wants to flow in every single being.
And problems arise. That's why you see men with heart problems. That's why you see men with all this rigidity and blood pressure stuff. And there's so much that comes as an effect of being locked into the masculine aspect without letting yourself flow with the divine feminine.
Right. And so when you're with someone and you can appreciate that goddess aspect in a man, okay, and you can see them as that, it really adds some spice and juiciness to your relationship for both partners, you know, because then you're both able to hold space for each other to work on the aspects that need to blossom and that need healing. And, you know, I love it all the time. You know, I see Stephen in his goddess essence, and it's beautiful. And I think it's something that we should all consider looking at within our partners, is seeing them both for the feminine and the masculine and appreciating that, because we all want to express our true essence and be accepted and be loved, right? And so how can you be in a divine partnership that is going to last if you can't honor those parts within yourself and honor it within your partner and hold the space for them to blossom? Every day I look at this beautiful man and I'm like, oh my gosh, there's more beauty every single day that is just blossoming in our relationship.
That's how I feel too.
And in him, and I'm like, oh my, like I didn't know that this kind of love existed. But then again, before I wasn't loving and honoring myself at all. You know, I didn't see myself for my worth. You know, and that's huge to know that you're worthy of this kind of partnership and that it does exist. You know, so many times you hear that relationships are just phases and people come in and they teach you a lesson and then they leave. Well, it doesn't have to be like that. I want you all to know that true love, a higher love, does exist and you're all worthy of it. And It's up to you to see yourself for the beautiful being that you are. And it's up to you to know your worth. And when you're not being treated right and the relationship isn't going anywhere, and even if you've tried and you've went to therapy and you've really tried to work on it together, if it doesn't feel right in your heart, it's okay to let that relationship go. Because the more guilt, right, and shame that you carry, and the stifling and the suffocation that occurs with that life force energy within you to be in the wrong relationship, you're only harming your own growth and beautiful human experience while you're here on earth. So you owe it to yourself to love yourself more, to know your worth, and to honor your needs. That was a mouthful, and I know he probably wanted to interject multiple parts. No.
The only thing was honor yourself.
Yeah.
Honor yourself in every situation, in every moment. And we all have different patterns where we don't. A lot of men get locked into, like, I have to be strong, so they're afraid to admit, like, maybe when they're not feeling so great, whether it's emotionally or physically, and just allowing themselves to be vulnerable, like, hey, like, I'm really anxious about this right now. But instead it comes out as, like, this, like, kind of mentality when they're actually just scared. I've had situations where I'm really just scared, but I created a pattern where I just, like, put my head down and, like, do the work instead of admitting that I'm scared about something. A lot of men have that. And a lot of people in general have things about not owning their voice, not owning their truth, not speaking up for themselves in relationships, but also admitting it to themselves first. Like, hey, like, I really want this, or I know this is in alignment with who I truly am, but my life isn't there. And just admitting it to yourself that, hey, I'm out of alignment. And then in any partnership or any relationship, friendships, family, just getting real with yourself and the other people about things being in alignment or not being in alignment with the highest good of all parties involved.
Right, and that's been difficult for you at times, right? Yeah. I mean, I know I've seen that with you, that he wants everybody to be happy, like, and you want to please. That's what I think Stephen has had to work through, is, like, pleasing me and not asking me to do things. Because he, for instance, we both came back from Tulum, and I've had a stomach bug. I picked up some GI thing, and he, was feeling dehydrated and exhausted when we got back into the States. And so, I went to the store to get us water and to get him some decaf coffee. And, he felt bad about me going to the store and him staying home to relax, right?
Yeah,
and, like,
it's that pattern.
Because he wanted to be the strong one. He didn't want me to go out of my way to take care of him. But I love him. Of course I want to take care of him if he's not feeling well, even if I'm not feeling well. So, I went to the store. But I said, just speak what you want. I have no problem doing that, So,
yeah. And it's all different, too. Like, for most people, it's not that you're one way in every interaction and relationship. Like, I can be very accommodating and pleasing and, like, oh, I don't want to, like, cause you to get out of your way with this in a lot of relationships. But in other ways, I can be, like, the other extreme, like, not the fuck up in here. I'm not tolerating that bullshit. Like, with your kids, I was more like that.
Yeah.
With certain other people, I'm more like that, where I'm just like that hyper masculine, like, sword. Nope, not up in here. So be aware of the types of situations and the types of interactions where you're imbalanced in one way or the other, because it's not all or nothing, and it's not applicable to every interaction. It's always different. So it's interesting to notice those patterns too.
Yeah. I think the most beautiful thing about this relationship is we're both so intuitive, so we call each other out.
Like that.
Like, I mean, nothing, we both know instantly when somebody is not telling the truth, and we just call each other out, so there's really nowhere to hide in this relationship, which is really beautiful, because that's how you step into that truth, that essence where you're honoring your truth, because you're with a partner that's like, hey, I'm not letting you play small. You are not playing small, and you're not gonna hide your truth, no matter how scary, crazy, unique, or embarrassed you are to express how you feel,
Yeah, being real.
Yeah.
That we call each other out as soon as something's not in alignment, and it's so obvious to,
Oh my
to
God,
both of
it's
us.
so
it's like
like
immediate.
like the
what's
mannerisms,
going on? What's going on with this?
the face,
What are you doing here?
just the energy. It's like, for real, And I gotta say, we both had this amazing healing. I think it was the most powerful healing I've ever had in my life. And Tulum, these two Mexican ladies worked on us and gave us
massages,
therapeutic, shamanic massages. I mean, I've had many massages. This was the most amazing experience I've ever had in my entire life. Totally divinely orchestrated. It happened the evening before we were going to Chichen Itza, and what came up that night was so much of our shit that we needed to heal before we had to restart the video, because I have so much footage on my phone that my data was completely full, so I had to delete some of my videos. So anyways, what I was saying was, before we could walk on to the sacred grounds of Chichen Itza, we had to clear a lot of shit the night before, and the whole drive. Not the whole drive, but mostly. So he was in his most masculine aspect, in the sense that, everything, he was worried about everything.
Like dad mode.
He was in, complete.
Like, we got our passports, we got the car rental lined up, we got our pesos and dollars in cash.
I mean,
we got the directions, the backup directions. There might not be service.
The speed
we know where
limit,
to go.
Everything. He was so tense, and so I've never seen. I've seen him in this mode a couple of times when we've traveled and have to get somewhere or do something, but he was in a whole different mode. And the beauty of the trip was that everything flowed effortlessly, but he was failing to see that, he's like, we're probably not going to be able to get pesos, we're not going to see an exchange place on the way. And I'm like, nope, it's all going to work out. I'm like, we're going to find the pesos, we're going to find the ATM, we're going to find all this stuff. It's all going to be perfect. Because I knew that internally, but, he was in this mode where he was failing to see the grace of how everything was going to flow.
I was absorbed in calculation, like that hyper-masculine mode of calculation and getting everything set up. And when you're in that mode, you fail to see the magic and the beauty all around you, and you're not trusting it.
Right.
So a lot of men are locked in that mode 24/7 usually, and no wonder why they fail to see the beauty of their partners or the beauty of life, because you're so fixated on calculating risks, what you need to do, setting this up, setting that up, that of course you're not going to see the beauty around you or the beauty in your partner. And I wasn't seeing the beauty in you, definitely not during that time. Because I was so absorbed in that.
Yeah. So anyways, we got there, and everything was perfect. The line moved like that. There was barely a line. When we did our work that we were supposed to do there was hardly any people compared to when we were leaving the park. It was busloads of people. The line was crazy. So everything was
perfect
timing. Yeah. So just a lot of lessons of, holding space for your partner to be wherever they need to be.
And yourself.
And to really honor yourself, really honor your truth, really see yourself for all the beauty that you are, because you all are beautiful. And I think that sums it up for me right about now.
Yep, for me too.
All right. Well, much love and many blessings, and thanks for checking out this video.
Love y'all.
Love. Peace.